Okay, so let me just say this. I am not a Christian. I am not a Hebrew Israelite. I am not religious in any way. I am a spiritual being. And this is why. First of all, the Bible is an allegory. An allegory is a story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. A symbol can also be an allegory. Okay, so the entity depicted as God in the Bible is really Enlil, who is a Anunnaki god. Okay, so keep in mind that Anunnaki just means alien or extraterrestrial, and God is generator, operator, destroyer. We are all gods, and we have the ability to create our own reality. Okay, so these so-called Anunnaki gods came down to the earth, which is planet Kai, to bring advanced technology, esoteric wisdom, and I guess their perception of what civilization is or should be. There was already a civilization living on this planet prior to their arrival. Enki is depicted as Lucifer or Satan in the Bible. They took a bunch of texts, such as ancient Hebrew texts, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and the Sumerian tablets, and created the Bible, but they left out the good parts. They left out the information that we were really supposed to receive. Okay, so now this is an example of how the Sumerian tablets actually look. Okay, and you can get the PDF versions of this information and read it for yourself. It's all been transcribed. No one has any excuses. You have the internet at the tip of your hand, so don't act like you can't find this information. Okay, so now let's go to Genesis. Let's talk about the story of Adam and Eve. The story of Adam and Eve was the creation of mankind. Keyword, mankind. Okay, so when they talk about Lucifer being the serpent or snake, they are referring to Enki, the light bringer, the bringer of light, Christ consciousness. They're talking about wisdom. They're talking about enlightenment. This is why they were embarrassed when they noticed that they didn't have on any clothes. This is why they began to question things. Okay, and here's a really good example. The 10 Commandments were actually derived from the 42 divine principles of Ma'at. And as you can see, they left a lot out. They only left in what they needed to use to control you. Okay, and so here is an example of how some of the hieroglyphs that are in these pyramids and temples look. And for real, once you do the research and start studying and start understanding what the symbols mean, you're able to like read this yourself. Like, it's really not that hard. These symbols represent allegories, so they tell a story, they paint a picture. For an example, the Hajet, which symbolizes the kingdom of Upper Egypt. You feel me? You have the Ankh, which symbolizes immortality, fertility, and all these other great things. And they want you to be scared of this information. They try to demonize it and tell you that it's evil, but when you really do the research, it's nothing evil about it, and it really all makes sense. Okay, so now I also want to add that there were Egyptian artifacts, mummies, hieroglyphs found in North America and all throughout the Americas. Okay, a stone depiction of the Ankh was actually found in South America near the pyramid of Cholula, which predates ancient Egypt. Okay, so this is the Eye of Horus, which represents the production of health. We have the Eye of Ra, which symbolizes the sun. The symbol of Amenta, which symbolizes the land of the dead. Okay, and then there's the symbol of Ka, which represents your soul, which you will see depicted in the next slide on the temple walls. I also wanted to add that Thoth was not a human being walking around with the head of a bird. The ibis bird, which is an African bird, symbolizes wisdom. So it's an allegory. So religion and the Bible keeps you confused, keeps you vibrating at a low frequency, and takes you away from the universal law, which is the law of oneness. Okay, so now let's look at the Netaru, which also means gods. Okay, so we see Nut, who is depicted as the sky, and Jeb, who is depicted as the earth. Okay, so these are divine aspects or entities of the Creator. So again, when you see serpents or snakes like this, they just symbolize wisdom and enlightenment and knowledge and information. Okay, so good and evil does not exist. We live in a 3D realm with duality and polarity. So the Anunnaki gods, they actually began to fall in frequency when they were on Earth. A demon is just a low vibrational entity or someone vibrating at a low frequency. An angel is the opposite. It would be someone vibrating at a high frequency, or a entity or a being that has a high frequency. This is a depiction of the reptilians, who are said to be the Anunnaki gods who are controlling and running this matrix. So as you see, there are many Anunnaki races. Stay enlightened, family.